You're designed to heal. The basics are what matter, the basics. So people say, oh, that sounds so simple. I say, listen, breathing's simple. Don't do it for 5 minutes. You'll find out how important it is. Sleep. Oh, does it really matter? Oh, yeah, it really flipping matters. Like it matters more than you think it matters.
This is the Own It Show, where we tell stories of how everyday people made ownership theirs.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm your host, Justin Rothling-Schofer. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you found us. Hopefully you found us from a post that was put up or somebody you love sent you something that you probably needed to listen to and probably needed to hear. And if you're new here, which we know that you are now, we have over 220 episodes. So 220 episodes of amazing guests, amazing people that are sharing stories of their journey through ownership, because we know that ownership's not easy. We know that life is not easy, but when we step into something different, we can realize something different. And so if anything we say here today resonates with you, if you love it, if it helps you, if it serves you, please leave a review. Please just give a little star rating. And then share it with somebody. That's the only way that we're able to reach more people, touch more people, and ultimately help more people. Today, super excited. I'm always excited about the guests we bring on when I don't have to just sit here and do solo episodes, just pouring out information into you all. But today is a little bit unique. It's very seldom that I meet somebody in the medical system that really gets what it is to be truly preventative, truly holistic, and truly integrated. And I know we've done episodes on what do those definitions mean? How do they all come together? How do we now take action on those definitions and make it applicable? But our guest today has really been able to operate that way. He's built a business around this. He owns and operates one of the largest chiropractic and wellness clinics in the United States, based in Orlando, Florida. And I think the cool part about him as well is that it's not a one size fits all approach. It's very unique in how they operate. And we're going to dive into that as well, into how he does it and how he purposefully shows up in this world, which I think is something really powerful as well. So without further ado, Dr. Ben Rall, it is super exciting to have you here. And I can't wait to dive in with you.
Man, I'm so excited to be here. And I have to tell you, I feel like you're a little bit of a brother from another mother, if they can say that. First of all, we both know what the northern climate feels like. I'm originally from South Dakota, so we can talk about snow and cold weather, but also just been kind of binge listening to a lot of your episodes. And I just, kind of like you said, when you hear somebody talk about it, what I would just say is the right way. I don't mean that like in a judgmental way, but just gets it right and understands it deeply, especially in the wellness space. It really resonates with me. And, so often I hear you say, live a life by design. Then just ironically, like I talk about that. I just almost say it backwards in my world. I always say that we're designed to heal, right? We're designed. And I think it's the same concept. And so that's my life's work as well. I mean, 20 years doing this as a doctor and just, seeing patients for that long, you just can't help often, but just learn principles and see what works, see what doesn't work. So just thank you for your work, speaking into this space, kind of taking the road less traveled in the sense that sometimes you speak unpopular messages, even in wellness space, right? Calling out the stuff that needs to be called out. So I just appreciate your work and your podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Ben. It's so unique when you meet somebody else that has that alignment, because I think it's different, right? Our soul craves the truth at the end of the day. Our soul craves the truth. And I think that's something that we've all had that feeling, and we all know what that feels like when you hear something that's said and you're like, oh man, that's different. And it feels good. It's different and it's aligned. It's unpopular, but it's not harming me. I actually feel safe here. And that's really the messages that I'm wanting to talk about, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen people step into this health and wellness space thinking they're doing the right things, but yet at the end of the day, it's actually hurting them.
Man, I know. And it's hurting them. Then they get, and here's what gets me, because being in practice, it's hurting them. It's costing them a ton of money. Then they have some version of results or lack thereof. They think they tried it. They think they did it. And then they say something like, oh no, I did that. Didn't work for me.
Yep.
I'm out. And then they check back into the medical model, check back into their drugs, their dope, right? Whatever, the sick lifestyle they had. But now they feel even more justified in that, right? Because they think, I did it. I tried it. And man, it breaks my heart, not out of like mad at them. It breaks my heart because now they may be forever lost in that regard, right? They think they did it. And so it's a passion of mine as well, just to do that. And I agree. I think even what we really walked through these last few years, even in the health space, woke a lot of people up, to use that term, right? Where people said, there's something that doesn't make sense here. Now, of course, we continue to learn more, and maybe not the purpose of this podcast, but to your point, it's really important that we do not, I often talk about, we don't lose our agency, right? Like, don't give that away. Don't give it away to you. Don't give it away to me. Don't give it away to some other doctor or some commercial or somebody on TV or some other, health and wellness guru. At the end of the day, it's between you, and I would say between you and God, right? Between you and the creator, how that thing looks for you. So, man, I'm just excited to chat.
No, I love it. Take back your power. Take back your power. Take ownership of it, and truly lean into that, because it's true. And I love this cycle you talk about. We realize we need to change. You listener, out there, you've been like, hey, man, I just don't feel well. I know that there's something different. I know there's something better. I know I shouldn't wake up this way. I know I shouldn't be this tired. I know I should be able to lose the weight. I know I shouldn't feel this way. I know my body shouldn't ache this way. I know I should be able to sleep better than this. You then go and do something that's actually hurting you in the long run, but short term, it might be okay, getting you a small little bit of the way that's costing you a lot of money. And then at the end of the day, you're like, this isn't working for me because I'm putting on all this time, all this effort, all this money. It's not sustainable. And I'm just going to go back to what was quote unquote working before. And I truly call that the good enough cycle. I see it in a couple different ways, where there's a pain point. It's so heavy. It's so hard on somebody that they're like, I have to take action. They start something, they see a small amount of results, but small amount of results for an incredible investment, either in time, energy, or money.
Right.
And then they stop because they're like, I got enough. I did enough. And
Lost
then they
5
go
pounds.
and revert back to that same pain point. And now they're looking for a different solution or somebody else. And they're saying the same thing you just said. I tried that. Didn't work for me. I tried that. Didn't work for me. No, you took some snake oil from a snake oil salesman at some point in time through misinformation that wasn't aligned for you, wasn't prepared for you. It was designed for the masses, designed for what everybody's supposed to do. It was a product designed to scale. It was a system designed to scale. It was something that was meant to change the end user's life, not yours. Now let's come back and try it my way.
There we go, man. Okay. This is why I'm like, this is my guy. Like, I don't know what we'll end up talking about today, but this is, so, man, I want to know what you want to jump into, but I don't want the listeners to miss this point. And I will tell you from my chair, with 20,000 patients, which is the mindset that you just described. Like, I just want your listeners or maybe your listeners are maybe already really strong on this. So then it often becomes our friends, our family, our coworkers, right? Our parents, people we love and we're worried about. And I think that what you just walked through can give you almost a little bit, because sometimes it can become like, come on, what's wrong with you, right? Kind of thing, right? But the reality is there also is an empathy that goes on with this, right? Because you see that they've been sold a bill of goods. Like, if you've been in this industry, and a lot of the things, there's always usually a thread of truth in a lot of it, right? Like, hey, no, a lot of these are good ideas, good things, good habits. Some of them aren't, that's for sure, but some of them really are. But then they get so construed, or they get so exploited, or what you just said, it's really for the benefit, ultimate benefit of the person selling it to you. And so when it comes to your health, and the reason I often say that we're designed to heal, here's, and Doc, you may not fully agree with this. I think that you do, but here's how I often say it. Like, the things that you probably teach on, that I teach on, I don't ever want a person to feel something like this. If I don't do these 86 things, then I can't have a good, healthy life. I'm 100%. Destined for just crap, right? Now, listen, I am not advocating a lazy lifestyle and do whatever you want, eat whatever you want. But from the perspective that I have, that we are designed to heal. And what I mean by that is, created like this image of God, that we got these trillions of cells in our body right now that somehow are organizing, and I can see you and you can see me, and our heart's beating and our lungs are breathing. That's amazing, right? And that's what we get to start with, right? You talk about foundational principles a lot, right? Like, so no matter where you're at on your journey right now, this isn't an episode of to condemn you, right? To say, and I'm not saying you do that. I just mean, sometimes people are like, oh, well, then am I wasting my time? I do it all wrong. No. Yeah. Thank goodness you're amazingly designed to heal. However, with some intentionality, with some ownership, with some habits, with some long view perspectives, the right, things like that, you can make that baseline even more amazing, right? With whatever it is that God has planned for you, whether that's being a great dad, a great CEO, a great professional athlete, any of that. But you've got to have that right perspective from the start. So I couldn't agree more.
No, you're 100% right. I'd love to go back to this because you've worked with 20,000 plus patients. Yeah. You've seen so many people come through. You've seen a lot of things come and go in your industry when it comes to
that's good.
These best habits, these best practices. What are some of the things that you hear your clients, your patients talking about? And what are some things then that you see and hear about best practices? You have to do this, that if I can take this point, and this is kind of I just came up with it on the fly. It's like sitting in my mind, but the practices that the world tells you are healthy, but may be killing you. What are some of these that you've just started to become accustomed to and hear, and they may be good in practice. They just may not be good for you or for you today or for you in the season of your life you're in. What are some of those that we can start to highlight for some of the people out there?
So that's a great question. And if it's okay, Doc, I'm going to back up for a second, give a little bit of my story to help a person see this. So the whole way that I ended up in this profession, I was an elite athlete. I was training for the Olympics as a boxer. That was my dream. That was my journey. The way it works in boxing is the top 4 athletes, they do it called the box off, and then the 4 in that weight class fight. The winner goes to the Olympics. So I was training at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and I got sick. Okay. Now, the reason I bring this up is because when you live there, and I know you've trained and performed at the highest levels, people think oftentimes like that everything is like perfectly regimented and like it's Olympics. So it's all the best stuff and this and that. I mean, I lived there and trained there. I'm just telling you, the things that they were asking me to do to my body were not good for my body. Okay. And it gave me massive digestive problems where I ended up in the hospital, and they, did an upper GI, lower GI, had precancerous lesions throughout my digestive system. So many, they stopped counting. I remember the doc showed me pictures of it, these just big black bleeding ulcers. And I didn't know much about really understand health at the time. I said, what do I do? They said, you take these drugs. And I said, for how long? They said, forever. I didn't know any better, right? So I took the drugs, shut down my digestive system. I gained 70 pounds. I went from, 169 to 240 pounds. Now, maybe if you don't know much about boxing, but there's weight classes, right? So when I went from light heavyweight to super heavyweight, we had a problem on our hands. And then I essentially got, removed from the program because I couldn't compete, even though I was training and doing all these things, following their rules, right? Following their recommendations. I come home to where I'm from in South Dakota, and I often say I just came home sick, fat, and depressed. Like my dream was over, right? Like I don't get to go. It would have been the 96 Olympics, Atlanta. And so I struggled like that for 3.5 years. And then somebody said, hey, you should go see a chiropractor. And I said, like maybe some of you listening to this, which is maybe not your audience, but back then, 20 some years ago, 25 years ago, people are like, what's he going to do? And I actually kind of thought the same thing, right? Well, what are they going to do? And he was really
they're going to call you like the quack doctors.
Yeah, the quack for sure. Yeah,
they're not real doctors.
Yeah. And I would have been in that camp mostly through ignorance, right? Just like, I don't know. So I went there. It was the first doctor that actually sat down and explained health to me. Talked about how my body's designed, said, hey, if there's pressure here, this might affect you. In my case, it doesn't always work this way, but this is, I think the reason I wanted to share this is it's partly what you asked. In my case, I had some specific pressure in the areas of my spine and nerve system that went to my digestive system. Okay. For me, specifically for me. And so because of that, when that pressure got removed, and this is just how the story happened, within that first week of beginning care, I got off those medications that I've been on for 3.5 years. I lost 67 pounds in 4 months, changed my life. I had been going in every 6 months and getting scans redone. My lesions were getting worse or staying the same. Nothing was getting better. Of course, I'm having side effects of the drugs. After that, I went back in, I got my scans redone. I was completely clear. It's amazing, but it's not a miracle. And what I mean by that is the body's designed to heal, just like you're talking about, just like we talk about. So once I removed that interference, once we found the specific problem that was going on in my health, and we removed that interference, a lot of times it's not what do we need to do, it's what do we got to stop doing, honestly. Yeah. A lot of times we talk about the principle of removing the interference, right? A lot of people you coach or talk with or teach on, and people, I guess I've listened to on your show, it's really what do I need to stop doing? Honestly, I spend most of my time coaching people to stop doing dumb things for their health. And actually, a lot of those things they don't think are dumb, right? So all that, then that changed my life, became a chiropractor, and really one of the drugs I was on, no longer on the market, killed 33,000 people a year. So I might not even be here to tell that story. That's part of my motivation. That's part of why we do this. So now seeing patients, and this would probably be on the extreme end, Doc, is I see the people that come in, and we'll just start kind of on the extreme negative end, right? They're masking every symptom with a pill. Okay. They think that I have high, and we're not doctoring over the airwaves here. We're using examples. If I have high blood pressure and I'm on a high blood pressure medication, so my blood pressure is lower now, we think, not maybe your smart audience, but many people think I did get to the cause of the problem. See, it's lower now, right? Or I have inflammation. I take an anti-inflammatory. And so now I'm better. Now, listen, I'm going to be the first person to tell a person, I don't really care. Like, I would recommend not taking medications. I don't think that's the smartest thing, but I would also very quickly after that say, don't just be taking some supplement to try to treat the same thing they told you. That's not intelligent. You're just a medically minded patient that's now maybe using something maybe a little bit safer. I mean, I'm not anti-supplements. I sell supplements, but not a ton. That's not my whole life, right? I'd mostly teach people how to try to get to the cause of that problem. So what I mostly see, Doc, is people are masking the underlying cause, either pharmaceutically or nutraceutically, right? They're using therapies to treat things on the surface, thinking they're doing better. And some people become, I call them like wellness junkies sometimes, right? Like they got their acupuncture appointment, their chiro appointment, their yoga visit, their naturopath, their colonic. And listen, like I do all these are like good things, okay? But they're not the requirement that you have to do all those things all the time or you can't be well. Remember, you're designed to heal. The basics are what matter, the basics. So people say, oh, that sounds so simple. I say, listen, breathing's simple. Don't do it for 5 minutes. You'll find out how important it is. Sleep. Oh, does it really matter? Oh, yeah, it really flipping matters. Like it matters more than you think it matters. Okay. Yep. So I know your question was some of the specifics, but I want you to chime in here on this because like I think we overcomplicate this, right? In my profession, sometimes chiropractically, they're like, is that, sometimes they'll say like, is that all, they'll say that, is that it? I'm like, listen, that thing that you just asked me, is that it? That's what transformed my life, right? Like it'd be like somebody saying going out if they've never moved their bodies and they start going out on a 20, 30, 40 minute walk, brisk walk in the morning, and they've never done that, brother, that can transform their life. No, that's not the end, right? I'm not saying that we've arrived. So what's some feedback on that? Give me some thoughts. I can see you thinking over there.
No, I'm just taking a bunch of notes and things I want to touch on because there's so many great points there. And something that I've talked about forever is I don't care if it's red light. I don't care if it's sauna. I don't care if it's supplementation. I don't care if it's compression. I don't care what it is, whatever modality. If you're just taking that therapy, if you're just taking that modality, if you're just taking that thing and expecting it to fix you, to heal you, you're using them the exact same way as you are pharmaceuticals.
Amen.
That's it. And if that's the mindset going in, you're always going to have a ceiling at which, this stopped working for me. This never worked for me. This didn't get done what it needed to. No, that's incorrect. The therapy, the modality, the thing was actually doing what it was supposed to do. It's just, you didn't actually do the underlying things that were necessary and you're still operating in what's called dysfunction and you're calling it normal and expecting us to see some type of radical change and radical shift. And I think the funny part, even coming back to this, when we don't go into the medical system, everyone blames the medical system. I hate the medical system. The medical system isn't proactive. Yeah. No, people, the medical system is doing exactly what it was built for. It is built to be reactive. And it is built to make money. And it's actually not broken. It's not broken. It's actually thriving. It's doing a really good job at what it was built for. Yeah. But everything else that we're applying isn't looking after the foundation. We, in the medical system's eyes and in real life practices eyes, I'm sorry, this is going to rub some people the wrong way. If you want to shut it off after this and unfollow and go from there, that's fine. But it's not the medical system's job. It's not anybody else's job. It is your job to be preventative. It is your job to take ownership and to take the agency of your health back. That is our job, fundamentally at its core. And it's not about adding 99 different things. You said it. I've got this little I've got this acronym. It's called PREPARE, right? So prepare yourself for what's already prepared for you, basically like healing yourself in that capacity. The first R stands for replace. What do you have to replace that's no longer serving you? What do you have to replace that you're currently doing that's not taking you to where you want? And these are the things that we have to get back to and really start to simplify and come back to these foundational practices that I think are so contrarian to what everybody believes. And my follow-up question to you is, when we start to talk about these foundational principles, these fundamentals, and doing the fundamentals better, doing less better, what are the responses and the mindsets that you have to help your patients overcome in order to start to do these things consistently? Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm going to do these 15 things really well. And so basically saying I'm going to do intensity well for the next 3 weeks or 5 weeks.
Right.
But what does it look like to do 4 or 5 things consistently well over a long period of time? And what mindset does it take that you have to coach, educate, and teach your clients and patients through?
It's a great question. And I don't remember what episode I was listening to you about, but you were just talking about some of the work that you do and how you work with your clients. And the one I remember at least was like, hey, minimum, this first part, 6 months, the next part, 6 months, right? Just minimally at this a year, right? To help them understand. Yeah. And I in our office, of course, ultimately the person's always, it's their health. They can choose not to participate. Right. But that's always how I talk to them, because I don't want to give them false expectations. Right. I don't want to give them unrealistic hope that's not there if they're not going to do their job, if they're not going to come on for the ride. So what I see happen to your question of those kind of roadblocks to people just doing the basics, we need to have, people often will say, like, you hear this, I want the quick fix, right? This mentality, people say they want the quick fix. And I say, listen, kind of like you were talking about the healthcare system. I don't know if they want it. They've been told that it's available and that it is a fix. So like people, like if you like, do I want, well, we all want a quick, like if you got to fix my roof, like fixed it fast and good. And yeah, I don't want to take 9 years to do that. But also don't tell me I can fix it in a half an hour, but it was fake and you just spray painted it or something like that, right? So when people say, "Oh, everybody just wants a quick fix," I say, no, they've been told that that's an option. So a lot of times our role is to come in and say, "Hey, listen, this is how your body is built. This is what regeneration looks like. This is what habits look like. This is what a healthy lifestyle looks like." In some level, I'm sorry you've never been told that, but my job I'm not here to let's just get on with the game. Let's get on with healing. So we see our people consistently, like we're a wellness-based office. So people are regularly coming, right? And into our office so we can stay in community, because I see, the sticky culture kind of pull them out of it, right? They come to you, they feel better for a day, week, month, or year. And then like we talked about, they slip. So consistency for us is building community, right? Helping people, see other victories, iron sharpens iron, sharing those stories with people. The thing that happens when we give away, we kind of get into this victim mindset so quickly, and we don't even realize we're doing it because we don't want to believe that about ourselves, right? We think we're not victims. Something that happens so often in my world, Doc, is they'll say things like, my, it's funny. We talk about owning it. We're really good at owning diseases, but we won't own our wellness, right? We're like, my diabetes, my migraines, my allergies, my this, like we own that one, like no problem. That takes 4 seconds. People will get something spoken into their life 20 years ago at one visit of a doctor, and they've carried it around like it's wild to me. They'll bring out their wallet, with a piece of paper with the 30 drugs that they're on and the 18 diagnoses that they've had. And it blows my mind. I'm like, why are you so willing to adopt that and own that and let that seep into your soul? But then when we come in to talk about owning your health, owning healing, you think I'm crazy. You think like this is impossible. And so
I was just about to say it's their impossible. It's something they can't seem to overcome. It's a thing that and I will be honest and bold when I say this, it's because everything else that they've gone after hasn't been the truth. It hasn't been the thing that tickled their soul. And everything else has just been a cheap substitute at a premium price. Yeah. I mean, it's a hard truth, right? Because especially being in our industry, because, I'm a little bit of a black sheep too, because people are like, well, why not this? And there's a lot of therapies that I just do not offer in my office because I don't think that they're worth what they're often charged for, right? I just don't think even when it comes down to, imagine we agree on this, when it comes down to movement and exercise,
Like, listen, you don't need a $300 gym membership to move your body. You can do, you can do a lot on your own, in your own life, body weight stuff. I get so frustrated because people often use the excuse. This is the first one I'll go after, one of the sacred cows. Now, it might not be your audience, but it's a lot of people. They say they don't have the money. Okay. Yeah. That's usually, and then it doesn't matter. I don't have the money to take that blood test. I don't have the money to get that wearable. I don't have the money to buy healthy food. I don't have the money to join the gym. And I'm just like, you know what? And I'll push back on that. I'm like, you said, this might ruffle some feathers. I'm like, BS. I don't believe that. And I don't mean that because I got cash and I don't worry about it. I mean it because most people are living such a jacked up, unhealthy lifestyle, spending thousands on health premiums, paying into stuff they don't need to be paying in on their dope, their drugs, their Wawa sandwiches, right? And then they look at me or you and say, oh, that's too hard. I'm like, you cut out most of that junk. Actually, I will contend outside of some certain circumstances that you can actually have a radically healthy lifestyle for probably cheaper than you're living, right?
100%. And here's the funny thing, when you look at, I want to throw this stat out there to you guys, because I think it's going to radically shift your mindset in around this stuff as well, because we've been taught that diseases just happen. And you said a lot of us will take ownership of our diseases, but we won't take ownership of our health.
Right.
I say something very similar where you either earn your health or you earn your disease. It's your choice. And we have to realize that 90% of type 2 diabetes, 90% of cardiovascular disease, 90% of strokes, 70% of colon cancers are preventable by lifestyle intervention.
Amen.
Please take that number. Please take that number, 90%. The second number I'm going to throw out there is that the leading cause of death in the United States, of America, is chronic illness at 71%. 71% of all deaths in America are from chronic illness, which we've come to understand are preventable. Upwards, let's just take a funny average of, let's even say 60% of chronic illnesses are fully preventable. Upwards of 90% in some categories. Like, we are earning our illness and doing such a great job of it, but yet we're pushing the ownership out on somebody else, on a system that wasn't designed to do what you're asking.
Well, I'm going to go, and I agree with everything you said, and I'll even go a little bit further if that's okay, because I this stuff gets me very riled up, and I think sometimes we need shocking statistics to wake us up, right? I mean, I don't think a person needs to have $9 million in blood work, especially if you're not going to do anything to change it. But if you can use it to wake you up and the reality, then I'm all for it, right? And so when I look at some of the health statistics, and I think you're being generous on the downside, right? Like, it's worse than that, right? I mean, I get it. I would say different statistics I've seen. I mean, I think it's even higher, right? Meaning the disease of lifestyle, right? Most of what people are struggling with, outside of a small amount of genetic scenarios, right? And even that, when we can start talking about epigenetics, not today's topic, but even that, people, it's in my family. Listen, you're embarrassing yourself. Yeah. And you're not talking intelligently. I know you want to hold yourself out to be a smart person if you're listening to this. So don't let things like that come out of your mouth. Most of cardiovascular disease is preventable and or reversible. Dr. Dean Ornish published many articles on this in the top journals. You look at cancer, Craig Ventnor, he was actually one of the leaders on the Human Genome Project. And he's literally says that 90+% of cancers are directly related to lifestyle, not your genes. It's a complicated sequence of events that happen there. We talk about all these other, diabetes, but listen to this. The third leading cause of death, and you know this, the third leading cause of death is the medical system. Okay. So think about this. This medical is the irony of it. And the United States, we spend more than any other nation in the world. We're the last one I saw, we're 33rd in longevity. We have the worst infant mortality rate in the industrialized world, the second worst maternal mortality rate in the industrialized world. We have the sickest kids. We have the highest rates of cancer. Like, it's not like, friends, I'm not beating up on America, but I'm telling you, wake up. Do not live under this illusion that somehow we've got it figured out because we got the best of this. Now, I will agree with you, Doc. And now I can get fired up about this. I agree. We, in some sense, stop blaming the system, stop blaming the doctors. I get it, right? Like, take responsibility. I do believe that. And I totally believe that. but here's the part that some listeners might need to wake up to. But they have told you that system has told you that they will take care of it for you. So they have been lying to you. So I get where the confusion came from. Like right? They're telling you the stuff that you teach on doesn't really matter. They tell people like me, I'm a quack, right? So like there's a reality to why you're confused. But once you wake up to it, now it's time to absolutely take ownership of this. And now this culture has somehow made ownership mentality almost like a negative to some degree, right? Like it's cocky, or it's right, like it's almost like that's for other people, or you're I don't know what the word is. I think about, because you just hear some of the language going on, like, hey, everybody, let's all just kumbaya, and hey, it doesn't matter, and let's just all kind of do our thing. And that is all, in a sense, handing away our agency, handing away. It's an excuse not to do it. So the reason I say this is, as you listen to podcasts like yours, like, understand that it's like hard work has become almost negative. I hear people saying like, they're told like people look at having kids now as selfish. I've heard this said before, right? Like, oh, you're part of the problem because you're going to have a family, or you're going to, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because you've got to be aware of the mindset that you're taking into this, because it's unbelievable how you will deceive yourself. It's unbelievable how fast you'll be like, well, it's kind of hard. You're right. I don't know. Right. And then like you said earlier, that, how did you say that? We settle for just a cycle of good enough, or we settle for good enough. Yeah. Right. And that, the old Good to Great book. I mean, the greatest enemy of the enemy of great is good, right? We settle. Now, listen, I'm not legalistic. I don't think that this is about this perfect formula, like you said, that we can just scale, right? And say, here's how you eat, here's how, like, it's unique for everybody, right? Different lifestyles, different seasons. If you got your young family, your kids are growing, things like that. I've got a 13 and a 16-year-old. The way I have to engage in their life and what they need is different than what they're going to need maybe when they're, than they were a baby, than when they're 50 years old. So check yourself on this when you're listening to podcasts like Doc here, and say, and ask yourself, am I actually taking ownership? Yeah. Okay. Like, am I actually doing it? It sounds good because it sounds a little, right? Of course, we want to all believe that about ourselves, right? That we're taking responsibility for our health. But I would tell you that in America, we have largely handed our health over to somebody else, whether it's the medical establishment, whether it's a lot of us, Doc, I think have just given up, frankly. Actually, they just throw their hands up and say, whatever. And they actually don't even do much of either end of it. They don't do much medical, and they don't do much wellness and prevention. They just kind of, whatever comes their way that day, right? Whatever tickles their mouth, whatever food sounds good, what they want to eat, wherever their friends are going out, whatever the new Netflix special is. And it's like, man, they're just, honestly, it's almost like they've become like this pawn in the world of entertainment, fleshly desires for the moment, right? This weak little, what's the latest Netflix show? What's the latest food I'm supposed to, and I'm like, man, if that is what life is supposed to be, dude, I'm good. No, thank you.
100%. I was talking, we had a podcast just with the founder of Eat Sleep, Matteo Francischetti, and we were talking about this, and we started to get into the discussion of structure and how routines and rhythms and these types of things. And one of the concepts that I often hear very regularly brought up is, I don't want to feel confined to a box. I don't want to feel like things are too rigid, and I just like to kind of go with the flow, because I like to be free.
Yeah.
It's another way of saying you just don't like to plan. You don't like to plan ahead. You don't like to earn your health in a positive way, because guess what? The excuse that I like freedom has no concept or no connotation to structure and routine, because the more that you are willy-nilly just going with the flow, the more decisions you have to make, the more your brain has to work, the more stress you're actually under. And the thing about this, when you have chronic decision fatigue, which is a real thing, you stop making intelligent decisions. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as an executive, as a leader of your home, of your business, of whatever it is that you're leading, you make decisions all the time. So now imagine having to make all of these other decisions. The routine, the structure, the rhythm actually provides you freedom that allows you to then make better decisions in all of these other areas of your life. And that's the component that I want to continue to keep hitting on here is we're not talking about rigidity. We're not talking about you can't have any fun. We're not talking about, hey, pizza night on Friday doesn't exist anymore. No, let's just make not every Friday night pizza night. Let's not make every night pizza night. Let's not make every random Wednesday a drunk Wednesday night. Like, let's get really intentional with how we're living and make decisions intentionally. People always ask me, Justin, do you drink alcohol? Yes, I do. I still enjoy a glass of wine with my wife on date night. Yeah. I still enjoy a couple mixed cocktails on the boat. But guess what? I'm not drinking every single night. I maybe have 4 to 5 a month. And in doing so, I'm also then saying, hey, if I'm going to be having alcohol, I'm also probably not intaking a lot of artificial sugar that night. I'm probably not having dessert because the way that it interacts with your body is differently. Like having these levels of understanding, but I'm also then taking a look at my HRV in the morning and saying, man, that is really hard on my body. I have to keep making better decisions because it's driving me in this way. The last thing I want to touch on here, I noticed you made a note on that point where we were at. So if you want to come back to that, feel free. Yeah. But I want to go back to the studies for a second when we talk about DNA and epigenetics, because I think a lot of people use that as their excuse, their scapegoat to say, this is why the result is happening. And I was at a panel in Orlando, probably, 5 months ago. And it was ironically a preventative health. It was all about hyperbaric oxygen chambers. Gotcha. Had a whole bunch of medical doctors there. And anytime, this is a funny thing, right? Anytime there's medical doctors around, I'm not an MD. And so it's always like poo on you type of deal. And they always just look down at me. Like I'm sure.
I'm in your world. I get it.
And so the funny thing is they were sitting there and there was a study they were citing where if you are a child of obese parents, you have an 80% likelihood to be obese as a child. And they're talking about how genetic predispositions to obesity, to all of these things that are going on. And I literally wanted to stand up and say, people, there's no fat gene. I'm sorry to tell you. There's no fat gene. It doesn't exist. It's not the genetic predisposition to being fat and overweight that exists. It's the environment that the child is brought up in. Yes. If the parents are overweight and obese, they're probably sitting on the couch watching TV. They're probably not moving. Thus, they're probably also eating poorly. They're probably not hydrating the right way. They're probably not getting the sleep they need. They're probably not living in a very peaceful household. All of these things are what the child is being brought up in. So the child's probably not exercising. The child's probably not eating very well. The child's probably not sleeping very well. The child's probably sitting on the couch watching TV. The child's probably behind different pieces of technology. These are all environmental factors that all come back to lifestyle, that all come back to choices, that all come back to what we do, which is nobody's fault other than the environment they're in. It has nothing to do with genetics.
Yeah. There is a few for the listeners that I just want to add a couple things and reinforce a couple things. A great read on this, and I'm sure you're familiar, maybe you've had him on, but Bruce Lipton wrote The Biology of Belief, right? And that really is kind of a lead on epigenetics, what that looks like, how environment really runs the show here. I heard it said one time, right? They said it runs in my family. And they said, no, it's probably because your family didn't run. I thought that was a better way of saying that. So here's the thing. You can be listening to this right now and you go, but doc, in mine this, and I just can't press against it enough. They did a study one time that they were trying to find out. I think this gets to some of the root of the problem is this. They said the average person has an understanding of health and healing at about a 9-year-old level.
Wow.
That's like a third grader. Okay. So here's my point. Because I was listening to some of the stuff you were talking about on some other shows, and I was like, yeah, man, that is so good. You talked about HRV. You guys talk about, continuous, glucose monitoring for seasons and things like that. And I'm like, just as I was listening, I'm talking out loud to your podcast, I'm like, just those two things. If you could just understand those two things and the implications of those two things, of course, right? Like, honestly, you and I can go do something else because it probably, and most hospitals could shut down and the pharmacy could get cool because those two understandings. So a lot of this, we even end up treating symptoms because really, symptoms of the mind is what I'm saying, because those two things are really what we're dealing with is people, like a lot of people think they understand money, but what we mean is we use it every day, right? Like I buy a coffee, I go to the store, I get gas. Just because you take out your card or pull out some cash and buy things doesn't mean you understand money. When I went into practice as a chiropractor, I knew how to treat patients, but I didn't know how to run a business. Brother, I failed miserably in practice my first few years. I couldn't figure it out. And I was all messed up in my head, right? I had to surrender. I had to get humbled. You know, the Lord did a thing in my life to pull me out of some of my ridiculousness. But I only share that point because there's some things that you're looking at this, just understanding heart rate variability, which we measure in our office as well. And Aura Rings are great. And there's all great stuff out there. Thankfully now, there used to not be. Now there's better stuff. But so you can get, and if you can measure your glucose and you have a basic understanding of what that does, dude, I'm telling you, you can figure this thing out. Now, I agree. Get a coach if for a season, right? Get some people in your life, build a new tribe. The reality is we are all so uninformed about health. And then what filled that gap was, we talk about what filled that gap was drug commercials and, just the stuff, the world, propaganda. I get it. But once you wake up, now it's on you. Now it's on you. And I don't mean that in a heavy way, in a burden way, oh man, no. I'm sorry that you were lied to and confused for your first 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. I'm sorry your family was this way. I get it. But listen, here's the good news. You have a body that's regenerative. Yeah. You have a body that's constantly turning itself over. If it didn't do that, again, Doc, we couldn't really have this show. We'd all be toast. Yeah. But I mean that in a loving way to people. Like, listen, you could be sitting here right now and you have diabetes, you have autoimmune challenges. I'm just telling you, you start doing the right things. I can't sit here and tell you every ill you have is going to go away and you're going to reverse every disease. Hey, someday we're all going to die, at least our time on this earth. That's not the point. I'm not here to tell you. I wouldn't even necessarily tell somebody, this is me, I wouldn't even necessarily tell somebody that, hey, do these things so you can live longer, because that's not I can't do that, right? I don't know your days. You get run over by a truck. That's not how this is. What I will tell you, the life in those years, the vitality in those years, your ability to be a mom, dad, brother, sister, boss, employee, or whatever God has given you in your life. I'll tell you what, laying in your bed, sick, fat, and depressed, and I don't mean to use rude language, but just, giving up, headaches every day, my allergies, my sinuses, woe is me, my knee hurts, my back hurts. I get it. But do not let that be the end of your story. Begin this journey of really just educating yourself. And then as you get educated, know better, do better. You start to know more things. You go, oh, well, that's not that hard. Gosh, I mean, dude, blood glucose monitoring used to be like, you got to go to the doctor or set up an appointment. Now you go to Walmart, not even Walmart, go to Amazon, get one, and by the end of the day, and then first check it and go, holy smokes, what the flip. But even in blood glucose, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of the book I had read recently. Even that's really fascinating. You talk about specific, I know we could go on all day here, but everything for people is different, right? Yeah. There's some people that can eat a certain thing and it messes up their blood sugar. Yep. And there's some person could eat the same thing and their body responds differently. 100%. So good to know, right? Yeah. Now that doesn't mean, hey, eat that. It just means, wow, my body responds differently. And man, come on, this body that we've been given, it's okay to have a base knowledge of how this thing operates. Totally. And I think we're okay just keeping our head in the sand. Yeah. We're okay just being like, man, nah, you know what? I want to learn more about AI. Well, why don't we learn about you? Before we go to artificial, let's learn about your intelligence. Let's learn about our intelligence before we learn about our artificial intelligence. Let's bring this back, because it's just been so, I think, hypersensitized as to the direction that we're wanting to go, especially in taking in our health. And I wrote down here, it's like the life and vitality of the years you have left can be improved and redeemed on a regular basis, but it's up to you changing the foundation of what it is that you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis, becoming aware of it and being willing to do something different, being willing to become aware to the dysfunction that you've been living in and that it's been called normal for too long,
And when you're willing to do something different, the results you're going to get are different. And I have this in my book. It's one of the last sentences. It's and I'm just going to challenge everybody again. Yeah. I know you don't like being challenged sometimes, but that's okay.
If you're listening to this, I have to imagine that they've decided that they're okay with it. If they made it this far.
That's right. You've made it this far. You are more than capable, but are you willing? You're more than capable, but are you willing? And you have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself that. And you have to do it every single day because the consistency wins. I'd love to. Go ahead.
Can I add something? I know we're winding down, but, and I just want to share this last, maybe a component for certain listeners.
Yeah.
Because you made me think of it when you said this, which is for those people that listen to this podcast that have a faith perspective. Okay. If they have a God understanding, right? Sometimes we honestly, I remember I had this patient and she was a sweet little girl and, 80 pounds and she was a new mom. And she said, "Oh, Dr. Ben, I take care of myself. I do a lot of good things." She just says, "I just can't stop drinking Coca-Cola." Okay. I just remember this is years ago. And I said this kind of flippantly but this is what ended up happening. I said, "Well, if you can't quit for yourself, quit for God." Okay. That's what I said. And we know a week goes by or something. She comes in and she says, "Dr. Ben, I just have to tell you, for whatever reason, when you said that, it really affected me. And I thought about it and it was enough of an encouragement." So some of you are in a place where you've given up, right? And you don't think you're worth it. You think you're too far gone. And I'm just telling you as a person of faith, if you're breathing, if you're alive, you matter. Your life matters. You have a purpose in your life. And again, at the risk of this sound just a little bit like kind of rude as well, just like if you can't really feel like doing it for yourself, do it for the one that made you. Do it for the one that created you, right? Do it as a form of worship, as stewardship for the body that you've been given, okay, to run that race. So, because sometimes we're just in such a bad way. We're like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. I don't even care about myself. Well, listen, just for a season, you might need to find a higher purpose to do this for, right? And so I don't mean to preach on your podcast, buddy, but, just for those people that, so go ahead. Yeah.
It's good. I mean, we talk about that heavily all the time. I'm bold in that, in saying that, hey, we're carrying God inside of us. Like this is the vessel that we're moving with. And if we can truly step into that side of things and truly take ownership of that, and that's what moves you. Awesome. I mean, Alcoholics Anonymous made it famous, where it's like, let's find a higher power for the first time in your life, potentially. And that's what's going to get you sober. That's what's going to carry you through. The same thing when it comes to your health, and maybe it's just a Diet Coke.
Yeah. Right.
So this has been great, Dr. Rall. We're going to have to bring you back, and we'll have to do another show here. We'll probably do a few things together, which is going to be exciting. And
we got to bring you up to Orlando, and we can have a panel, but I won't have any grumpy MDs on there, right? We'll just
there we go. There we go. Actually, I am driving up there tomorrow night, so I might have to find dinner with you tomorrow or Saturday.
Oh, that's awesome. We're taking, funny you say this, and we're flying out to Yellowstone to go on a family vacation. On Saturday. And the reason I even bring that up is some people, they can't even fathom a vacation that's not eating as much as I can, right? Gluttony for a week. Like this is joy for us, right? Yeah. This is my 16, my 13-year-old, and we'll go out and we'll be hiking. We'll be in God's creation. Like your priorities begin to change as you begin to live in alignment, and you find joy in things that you didn't necessarily think that you could find joy in. You don't look at exercise and eating well as something I have to do, and this is a pain, and you look at it as like, this is amazing. This is great. What a fun thing. So, it's people like you and shows like yours that matter. I know we're going to be having you on our podcast in a couple of weeks. I can't wait to introduce you to our audience as well, so they can be challenged, right? And they can be encouraged, and at the same time. So it's been a pleasure, man. And thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely. We always ask this right at the end of the show, but if in a word or a phrase, what would you say your definition of ownership is?
Oh man, you kind of, I would say that it is taking responsibility for what God has given me.
Great. I love it. Dr. Rick, where can people find you? Where can people dive in, learn more about you, your practice, and everything that you do, along with the podcast Designed to Heal?
Yeah, we have our podcast Designed to Heal, drbenrall.com. So BenRall.com. We have some resources on there. believe we are on Instagram. And then locally, I have clinics in Orlando, and our clinics are called Achieve Wellness. So those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
I love it. I love it. As you step in, as you move forward, as you take ownership for your life, realize that where you are today is not where you have to be. It's fine that you're there. You're perfectly fine just the way you are, but you're just too good to stay there. And it requires taking ownership. It requires stepping into something new. It requires living differently to ultimately get a different result. And you have to understand at the end of the day, you're the only one that can do it. It's not because Dr. Rall said it. It's not because I said it. It's not because we want you to purchase something that's outside of what it is that you believe in. It's simply knowing that your body regenerates itself. You're worth it. You have a purpose. You have a mission. And that at the end of the day, when you have your health, it's only then that you can have 100 of goals. For the person that doesn't have their health, they have one. And at the end of the day, we want to empower you. We want to teach. And we want to reach so that you can reach a level of success that others don't have access to. We know success is different, so own your different, and we'll see you guys next week.